friends. This is Coach Rose AJ coming to holla at y'all. Today we are talking about carnivore and a little bit more.
Yep.
Who do I have in the studio with me today?
Brenda Ramirez.
And Becky Elliott.
So we were doing just a little warm up while we were getting our lights and candles adjusted and all that good stuff. And we are going to swing, folks. We're going to swing right into I wanted to talk a little bit about tests that women generally get after 50. But Brenda is going to start off the conversation for us.
Yes. So I used to, like most, I imagine most of us women have been recommended certain testing to be done, every so many years, every year, whatever, so many different things, such as mammograms, colonoscopies, bone scans, things like that. So I used to do the mammograms, and I had one time where I had where they found something that they thought was, oh, that might, we need to look at that more. So I had a special follow-up, and then they even did a biopsy, and it was nothing. It was fine. But I was, just followed the rules and did what they told me until it came to colonoscopies. I was a little more reluctant, but I did that. And then my gut was just telling me for a while, I just don't know that this is necessary. I didn't have any symptoms of any or any family history of issues. I did have digestive issues for years and years, but once I got to carnivore, all those digestive issues cleared up. So I was reluctant to follow up on my colonoscopies that they were urging me to do again. But when I was doing, I didn't know why, but I just wanted to, I was pulling back on it. I was hearing that they may not really be necessary. And I was having my doubts. After becoming carnivore and changing my way of eating, and becoming more aware of so many more things we can do to improve our health naturally, and things to avoid, that is a big thing, things to avoid. So I just became more aware of more and more things. And while I was in Dr. Lisa Wiedemann's coaching group, she did a YouTube video about avoiding, it's the potential health issues with mammograms and colonoscopies. Now, she wasn't telling everybody or anybody not to do them. She was trying to provide more information for people and resources for people to go do their own research. But it came up in one of her coaching groups, and there were people in the coaching group that were technicians in those fields where they were performing them. And they had, some of them were saying, yeah, there can be some issues with that. Now, one of the minor, maybe so-called minor things might be exposure to radiation. Well, we all get exposed to radiation in different doses, or the EMFs and all that. I mean, we can try to minimize those things in our daily lives. A lot of us just don't even know all that we're exposed to, but just becoming more aware of that, subjecting our body to potentially unnecessary radiation is something that we could do our research and think about. Is that right for me? One of the things that's recommended for, in general for people to have their mammograms, for example, is family history. Well, they don't seem to look at lifestyle. And lifestyle, when you become a carnivore we become so much more aware of, well, what I put in my body makes a big difference, and what I don't put in my body makes a big difference. So maybe if my mother or my aunt, or my family had a history of breast cancer, for example, was it from lifestyle, or was it from their genetics? It may lifestyle may have a lot to do with it. So that's something to be thoughtful about. And so there's a number of things that you can look into. Same with the colonoscopies. Now that is more of the probing and scoping. There can be issues with that. There can be catastrophic results from damage during that procedure, and that does happen. So there's just different things you can look into, and Dr. Lisa provided many resources. Again, she was not telling anybody not to do them. She did say she doesn't do those anymore, and her mother had breast cancer, but and Dr. Lisa had mammograms before, but once she sort of became carnivore and she's been carnivore for 15 years now. So, but she was also leery of other things like dental exams with the x-rays. Why do they need the x-rays? Do they need them as often as they might want to take them? So just questioning things is something that in our carnivore lifestyle, I think that's something we tend to do more, is like, well, maybe there's more to it, especially if it's being pushed on us. Like, for example, vaccines, or other routine exams, things that tend to benefit the medical industrial complex, as I would say, or the big pharma. There's a lot of money to be made in a lot of those things, and they're not always so necessary. So I have, I'm trying to not go into it too much, but enough to just be thoughtful about, do I really need it? I certainly would recommend, if somebody has had symptoms come up on something that they need to follow up on, then they should do that. But if you believe that you are living the healthiest lifestyle you can, or you're working towards that, and I think we can just do well to listen to our own bodies, do our research, be thoughtful, and just not necessarily take all the recommendations that are pushed at us. That's where I am on that. And if you're interested in Dr. Lisa's YouTube, it was called, I wrote it down, but now I don't have that paper.
I can also include it in the show notes. We can also look it up and put it in the show notes.
Okay. Yeah. So that was just one, but I have seen other doctors give some feedback on that type of thing in various podcasts or YouTube videos, interviews that I've seen. So it wasn't just Dr. Lisa, it was other places that made me think about that. And so for me, I've been done with mammograms for several years now, as well as the colonoscopies. I even heard that, like, Cologuard, which is where it's just getting your little poo samples, they can sometimes be they can be a false positive, and the false positives will cause you to, oh, I better follow up, I better get a colonoscopy, and then it could end up being nothing, and you're having a procedure that is potentially damaging to your body that wasn't necessary. So there's risks to everything, and you just have to make your own personal judgment. But that's my thoughts. And I guess another one, bone scans. I always wanted one for a long time, and my doctors would say, for my doctors would say, "Oh, you need to be like 65." Well, now I'm 65, so I had one last year, but I was a little reluctant, but I was curious because I wondered, well, all my life I did, how is my eating affecting my body, and maybe my lack of exercise or whatever it was up to this point. So I did a bone scan last January, and it did find some osteoporosis it in some areas. So I've been thinking, well, I know I have been doing things to try to increase my bone density from what I've learned, many things such as, strength training, resistance training. I've even found little things to do like the toe bouncing or the vibration plates. I just got a vibration plate in today. I haven't unboxed it yet. So I'm adding that to my routine. And I believe that Rose has one of those. And so I know there's lots of things you can do to potentially increase your bone density. So I'm working on that. I'm not sure when I'll do another bone scan. I want to be curious I am curious to see if maybe after another year, what is, or will they show an improvement? But I don't want to do that too often, for sure.
All right, Miss Brenda, thank you so much for sharing about your experiences and how you're choosing to handle testing now, today, and in the future. So, Becky, what about you, girlfriend? What about you?
I would say I'm somewhere in between. I had the initial colonoscopy back in when I was 50. My husband and I both did them. He was requested to come back in 5 years, which was just a few months ago. And I was told I didn't need to come back for 10 years. So I'm questioning whether I will need to, because like you say, as a carnivore, I don't have any fiber. I don't have any of the eating any of the things that clog up the areas, and I have zero symptoms. Neither of my parents had any of the symptoms either. So, that's something that I'm not sure that I will do. Um, as far as mammogram, I always have. I guess I never even considered it was an option not to. But I'm like you. I've had um where they've seen things and they want me to come in and explore further. I never had any biopsies or anything like that. And now that I've lost close to 60 pounds, there's not as much to really investigate. So there may not be as much of a need. I don't know. But that's something I'm definitely going to consider because I don't know that it's necessary. And
Mhm.
I will do my own research because that is something, it gave me a lot to think about. I appreciate that. I when I was thinking about our discussion, I was thinking about like the shingles. I think that
Mm.
is something that is probably necessary. I did do the shingles back before, but it's something that's already in our bodies. And I have seen people suffering from the shingles and the pain and all of that. So I think today, if I had to make that choice, I probably would get that, um, just because of the suffering that I've seen people go through from having that, and the fact that it became in our bodies when we were children from the chicken pox. So it's not something that's going to go away because of our way of eating. But I have not chosen to get any of the other vaccines in the last year and a half. So um, that's kind of where I stand on it. Yeah.
Tell you. So, the women's exam, yearly exam, I'm going to be candid. I've been doing them because it was recommended, right? Even
Mhm.
all the way up until about 3 weeks ago. And 3 weeks ago, meaning I had my annual mammogram and women's exam. And as far as the bone density scan, I don't think that I would ever be in trouble, so to speak, just because I do a lot of impact and a lot
Yeah.
of strength training, but I had my first one done a couple of years ago, and then I had that done on the 16th as well, and everything is all good. I do believe that I will still continue to get these as they are recommended, even though I don't have a family history that I know of with breast cancer or anything like that. Now, at 50, I do have to tell you guys, at 50, it was recommended for me to have the colonoscopy. And the reason that I did do the colonoscopy was because I was getting ready to leave service and I was switching my insurance and all that stuff. So, you know how they give you all the prep. Okay.
Mhm.
So I went into my appointment. My husband was the designated driver, the whole nine. And they do like a little preliminary before they actually do it and sedate you and stuff. And they told me, Miss Coates, you're not as cleaned out as we thought you would have been, or whatever. And I was like, look, you're either going to do it or you're not, but I'm not coming back. And so it turned out to be fine, and I wouldn't need to come back for another 10 years. Now, that is one that I will be doing research on, and that I probably won't go back at the 10-year mark, to be quite candid. That's one that I'll probably throw my hands up and walk away from unless there's something that warrants it. And I do generally get dental exams and cleanings every 6 months. But as I shared with you guys a couple of episodes ago, I went like a little over a year without having it done. And that was just not normal for me. But I was burnt out, guys. I was burnt out. But
Mhm.
anyway, so do you guys have anything else that you guys want to chip in on this conversation before we close it out?
Appreciate hearing the different opinions because it
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good to learn, and that's what these conversations are for.
Mhm.
And you know,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? Speaking of which, when you said the shingle thing, so the last time I had a flu shot was when my daughter was pregnant. And the only reason I got the flu shot, to be quite candid, was because she asked me and my husband to, because we would be around the babies all the time. But
Mhm.
after that, I never got another flu shot. Even when I was in service working with hundreds, thousands of people, I never got the flu shots, although they recommended it and offered it, right? And the TB test we had to take every year because of potential exposure. So that was fine. And as far as the shingles, I never plan on getting it. But I could see, whereas if I saw somebody experiencing problems or complications from it, that might impact my decision to do it. But no, I'm not down for all these vaccinations and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying don't you do it, but I'm just saying I'm not down for it unnecessarily, right?
Right.
All right.
Good.
Thank you for this conversation, ladies. I'm just over uber excited talking with you guys. And thanks for joining us, folks. Peace out.
Peace
Till
out.
next time.